Hey, my friends, JT DeBolt is with you today for the Elite Marketing Pro Daily Dose of Awesome. Welcome to Wednesday. Great to be with you here. It is 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, and I'm stoked to be with you. I want to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is for you, no matter where you might be tuning in from. Thank you for joining us here each and every single Monday through Friday at this exact same time, where we always bring out our guest speakers and our leaders to come and talk to you about how to really expand and grow your business. As an entrepreneur, it's so important to have those people in your corner, in your life, that can be there for you. And I'm thrilled and stoked to have the privilege to come at you here today. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Perhaps you have experienced this yourself. If you have not, then either you are extremely fortunate or perhaps you just haven't had your turn yet. But certainly you will if you're doing it right. What we're talking about is how to deal with the doubters, the naysayers, or as some people call them, the haters. I don't necessarily prefer the term haters because I think that kind of puts an emphasis in the wrong place. What I prefer to think of them as is people who just don't understand. They might be uneducated. They may not be as enlightened as you when it comes to what it takes to build a business and be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. The challenge is that what happens when they're close to you? What happens when these people come at you from a place of love, but you may not hear it that way, right? So maybe it's somebody close to you. It could be a spouse, could be a friend, could be a sibling, could even be somebody that you didn't see coming, like a neighbor or even a child. They may say to you, why is it that you're spending your time building this thing and not spending enough time with me? So what we're going to talk about today is really how to deal with this, because it will happen if it hasn't happened to you yet. And as important to this, if you consider yourself a business leader, which I hope you do because you are, it's very important for you to see yourself in that way. You're going to have people that come to you either in your downline, your upline, your sideline, whatever it looks like, who are going to be dealing with the same challenge. And if you can give them the tools and the skills to overcome this, you will become very valuable in their eyes, in their heart, and in their mind. So what does it really mean to be a doubter? What it means typically, think about anything that you doubt right now. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't have to be business related. Maybe you say, that the guy next door is going to mow his lawn, or I doubt that my favorite sports team is going to beat this team, or whatever the thing is. You've had doubts in your life. Perhaps you've even had doubts about your own ability to do something. Now, what is that really? What does doubt represent? Well, doubt represents a gap between your understanding and of the situation and the situation itself, right? So maybe you don't understand what it takes for your professional sports team to beat the opponent. Maybe you don't understand what the weather actually represents. It's just a difference in weather pressures or a difference in weather fronts. Perhaps you don't understand what it requires of you to be successful in that endeavor. The point of the matter is that doubt really is just a difference in understanding. We don't understand one thing better than we really ought to. So when we take that perspective, then all of a sudden we can look at somebody who is a, quote, doubter or a naysayer and have a little bit more compassion for them. And it's our job to not just educate them, but to demonstrate to them. And that's really what I want to talk to you today about. I'll tell you kind of a funny story about myself and how this actually applied to me. So if you guys followed a couple days ago, I guess last week, Fernie and I came out here, and Fernie introduced me to this community, something I'm totally pumped about and excited about. And he was talking about how I was a negative spouse. At one point, I was a very negative spouse, particularly as it pertains to this community or to this industry. At the time, I was a full-time active duty Navy pilot, and my wife, who was active duty as well, she was my navigator, we actually flew together, had the vision and the belief in this industry. And I was very much a doubter. Over the course of time, though, as I started to watch her progress through the business and progress in the industry, I thought, man, this is something that could be legitimate. But there was still a point where I was the arms crossed, you're going to have to show me before I believe it type of person. I'll see it when I believe it, or I'll believe it when I see it type of attitude. One night, she was on a team call, and this team call was hosted by our team leader, upline, whatever you want to call him, and they had brought out a very famous motivational speaker. They had arranged this gentleman to come out and speak to us about success and the things that it takes to be successful in a business. And what was interesting was at the end of the conversation, he spoke for about 45 minutes to an hour. the team leader said, okay, well, listen, we got a few minutes here, and we're going to open the call if anybody has any questions. Now, you got to remember, this is before Facebook Lives and before, webinars were really a big thing. We were still doing conference calls. And so they said, hey, if you've got questions, go ahead and unmute yourself. Let me know who you are, where you're calling in from, and this sort of thing. By the way, I want to know where you're calling in from or where you're dialing in for showing up. It's awesome to see you guys. Let me know where you are actually tuning in from. And by the way, type a 1 in the conversation here in the chat box and let me know if you've ever experienced a naysayer or a doubter, or perhaps you see them as haters. If you dial a 1, I see some people coming in from the UK. Hey, Jenny, good to see you. Dial a 1 in here if you've ever had the experience of somebody doubting you. All right. Anna Lee coming in from LA. Good to see you. Lisa from Illinois. Okay, so I'm on this call one night with my wife and our whole team, and this motivational speaker comes out, and they open the call. They unmute everybody so you can come out and ask questions. And guess what? It was total silence. For whatever reason, nobody asked a question. And I'm sitting there in our little room, in our little office space in our house, and my wife kind of nudges me because I had been making comments, kind of nodding my head and agreeing with this speaker this whole time. And she's like, you should ask a question. And I'm like, fine, I'll ask a question. So I unmute myself and I'm like, hey, this is JT from San Diego, because at the time we were living in San Diego, we were based there. And the team leader goes, hey, JT, what's your question? And I asked the question of the speaker. I'm like, hey, Chris, what do you do if you're surrounded by naysayers and doubters, people that don't think that this is a legitimate business, they don't believe in the industry, or they just kind of think this is a scam? What say you? Now, I'm thinking I'm pretty clever, right? And I'm all full of myself. I'm thinking, man, this dude's never going to answer this one. He's going to give me some sideways answer. But here's exactly what he said. He said, you don't say anything. You let your walk do the talking. Walk the walk and let that do the talking. Next question. Now, I thought that was amazing because first and foremost, the dude actually answered my question. But to me, the more powerful meaning behind that question was exactly that. It was, listen, instead of going around telling your family what you're gonna do, instead of pounding your chest to the world, Facebook, whatever it is, about how great your product or service is, or how amazing the compensation plan is, or how much weight you can lose, how much money you can make, how beautiful and young you can look, go out there and build the damn business. Build your empire and allow people to be either excited about your results or let them go away because they finally had their doubts quelled, right? You've shut them up. The best way to shut up the haters, the doubters, and the naysayers is to show up and get the results. And that's really what it comes down to for us as business leaders. We have to be in a position where we're actually walking the walk. All right. Now, I have to ask you this question. If somebody were to tell you this, doesn't matter if they're a world famous motivational speaker like this guy was, or if somebody just put their arm around you and said, listen, as a mentor and as a coach and as a leader, here's what I want you to do. I want you to stop worrying about the doubters, the naysayers, the haters, and just go do your thing. Would you feel more relaxed about that? Would that feel better for you? Would that give you a sense of comfort? If the answer to that is for you is yes, then I want you to dial a 3 in here. Just type a 3 into the chat box and tell me if that conversation actually works for you, if that solution works for you. Because I got to tell you, as I was sitting there, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting in a chair. I was like back like this, and I had my hand, and I was like, for like maybe 2 minutes. I didn't say a word, which is a lot for me. And my wife goes, what'd you think of that? And I was like, man, that to me might be one of the most important pieces of advice I've gotten, not just in business, which at that point was very, we were young, we were in our first year of business, but in life. Think about this. So let's take the business off the table for just a moment. If you've ever had a dream, maybe you wanted to be a musician, maybe you wanted to be a dancer, maybe you wanted to be an artist, maybe you wanted to be a professional at something, could have been anything, a professional athlete, could have been an actor, and somebody said there's no way you're going to be able to do it. Internally, you already feel like there's a struggle, right? Because it means something to you. It's a powerful dream, otherwise it wouldn't matter to you. But all of a sudden, you have 2 things working against you. One is the how am I going to do this? And then number 2 is now I've got to deal with these people who I care about and who care about me. And they're telling me that I can't do it. So when he said, listen, don't worry about them. Stop spending so much time, energy, focus. Stop giving so much of your life force to trying to convince people. Instead, put that energy into building the business. Put that energy into writing amazing ad copy so you attract the right clients. Put that energy into going on Facebook Live and giving a video or giving some information, some tips that can actually help people. And I'll be darned if it doesn't work. I mean, here I am 11 years later, and I'm being asked by an amazing community to come out and share it. This was one of the first, most powerful lessons I ever learned as an entrepreneur. And I hope this works for you, because all the people that are dialing 3 in here right now, we are obviously resonating with each other, because that's what it felt like to me. That's what it felt like almost 11 years ago when this guy said this to me. Now, here's the next part that I want you to think about. How do we start walking the walk? All right, once we've bought into the idea that we're going to walk the walk, how do we do it? So for the folks of you, I see a lot of people dialing 3s in here, and I see a lot of people doing the mic drop. Thank you very much, Jenny. That's awesome. The first step I want to talk to you about of how to actually walk the walk is, number 1, be the leader. Okay, so when Fernie introduced me to the community, he was talking about I'm the director of leadership and personal development, or professional development, and that's awesome. But what does that really mean? What it means is we all have to take on this role of being a leader. You've probably heard me say this before. You're going to hear me say it a lot, and that is this: entrepreneurship is leadership. All right, feel free to write that down if you're a note taker, or just sink and resonate inside your head. Entrepreneurship is leadership. At its very core, that's what we do. Think about what you do right now as an entrepreneur. If you've got a product that helps change lives, or helps people live a better life, or that makes them healthier, younger, happier, helps them feel better, you're leading them from pain, discomfort, or a bad situation into a better situation by virtue of giving them the opportunity to work with you with your product, your service, or whatever it is. At its core, that's what entrepreneurship is. Apple Computers is a leader. They lead people from not being able to work online or have a computer to having a computer that is amazing, right? Tesla's a leader because it's right now leading an entire planet away from being reliant on fossil fuels to be able to use electric cars. And that's a pretty cool thing to do, right? So the point is, it doesn't matter what the product or service is. If somebody's buying it, they're being led from a situation that's not so great to a better situation. If you use pain relievers, let's say you got a headache and you're going to use Tylenol, or you're going to use any of this stuff. If you've got a pain, you're going to take Tylenol to get rid of the headache, right? They've led you from a bad situation to a better situation. And as entrepreneurs, that's what we do. So if you take on the attitude of being a leader, all of a sudden, almost instantly, it takes off the table any concern, any fear, any kind of sense of insecurity that somebody else is judging you or doubts you or says it can't be done. Leaders don't think that way. Leaders are too busy thinking about the path forward. Okay? If that resonates with you, give me a high five. Just type a 5 in here to the question or to the comments here. I want to see how that's working for you. I see some people that are doing well. Awesome. Cool. Now, step 2, you got to have a DMO, a daily method of operation. If you do not have a daily method of operation right now, I want you to reach out to a coach. I want you to reach out to a mentor. I want you to reach out to somebody who's got a little bit of experience in the business world that can help you with this. All right? Whether it's writing your business plan, whether it's writing your marketing plan, whether it's having a daily method where you show up at a certain time of day and you build your business. If you guys are, by the way, I'm just curious here, who here is full-time in your business, where this is your gig? You don't have a job, you don't go to work for somebody else. This is what you show up to. If you can show me that here in the comments, that'd be awesome, because I'm just kind of curious. So just say, hey, full-time or part-time. It's fine. And there's no judgment here. I'm just kind of curious. Because, by the way, whether you're full-time or part-time is irrelevant. You still have to respect the time you have. So if you're full-time, it'd be very easy to say, hey, man, I got all day to build my business, so therefore I'm going to take it kind of easy. But that's not the luxury that you got to have. You got to take this very seriously, act like a leader, and have a daily method of operation. If you're part-time and you only have a few hours a day to work on the business, then you have to be even more focused. And we'll talk about focus here in just a second. But I'm just curious here. I see some folks that are saying, yes, building the business, I'm full-time. Cool. Here's the key. You have to have a daily method of operation, which means every single day, including right now, today, including tomorrow, including the following day, that you have a plan in place for what you're going to do to build your business. If you guys follow us, or if you go to the to the Fast Track to Freedom workshops, you'll see that on day 2, we actually break down how exactly you can build your daily plan, your daily method of operation. And spoiler alert, 65% of your focus has to be placed on result producing activities, right? Something that's going to push you toward a result or drive you toward a result. So make sure you're doing that. That's what we're talking about with the daily method of operation. Now, the third part to this is, if you're going to walk the walk, you have to also act the part, all right? This is not faking it till you make it, by the way. I am not a fan of that belief system. It's not faking it till you make it. But what it does mean is you have to act like a business leader. You have to act like the CEO of your business. You have to act like the person who's really running this thing. Because here's the reality. If anybody doubts you, they're coming from a small bit of fear. Now, their fear may be they don't want you to get hurt. Their fear may be that they don't want you to fail because they don't want you to look silly, or they don't want you to have any kind of thing. They're actually feeling it for you. However, it's part of their own insecurity that's coming out. They're kind of projecting their insecurity on you. So what you can do in that place is to act as if. You act as if this is your business, because it is. You act as if you are the solution provider, because you are. You act as if the business will grow and will succeed because you say so. And that's true. There's no faking it here, all right? And there's no making it. You are making it every moment you show up to your business with intensity, with focus, with the sincere desire to want to build it and grow it and be something bigger than just a business owner, an actual business leader. All right, so if this is, guys, resonating with you, type 5 or let me know, hey, this is working for me here in the comments, and I'd love to hear from you. The fourth thing is to focus on your priorities. Now, if you're going to walk the walk, this means you have to focus on what's your priority. What's the top priority for you today? Is the priority to get leads? Is the priority to get engagement? Is the priority to close sales? Sometimes those priorities shift, but you as the business leader have to be focused on that. Here's what's amazing. When you focus on the priorities for your business, you have no time, you have no mental airspace to focus on the doubters. They almost instantly go silent. Now, it doesn't mean they're not over here talking, all right? It doesn't mean that they're not chatting their little, cowardly comments in the feed. What it means, though, is that you don't hear it because you're too busy building the business. You're too busy being the business leader and the CEO of your empire. The fifth and final thing, and I'll tell you this, and I see a lot of people typing 5 in. I think that's awesome. You got to trust the process. Trust is the key word here. Now, I go back to what I was saying a moment ago, how sometimes people feel fear for you. Have you ever done this where you see somebody doing something kind of obnoxious? Well, my wife and I were just at a wedding this past weekend for her cousin, and a friend of the groom stood up. He'd had a few cocktails, and he gave a very rambling, embarrassing toast to the bride and groom. And literally everybody in the room is like, oh my God. We're just doing one of those, like as he's talking, you're like, cut the mic off. Get this guy off the stage. You feel kind of embarrassed for him, right? He doesn't know any better, and maybe when he sobers up the next day, he'll go like, oh God, I shouldn't have said that. But the fact of the matter is that's kind of what sometimes people feel about you because they don't understand. Again, remember, doubt is the gulf. It's the distance between understanding something and the actual reality of it. If they don't understand, they're going to doubt it. What you have to do is trust the process. And when you have a trust, if you establish an attitude of trust and you say, hey, listen, this is going to take as long as it takes, and I'm going to stick in as long as it takes. This is going to happen on its own timeline, but I promise you this, every single day I'm going to apply myself to my DMO, my daily method of operation. Every single day I'm going to show up as a leader. Every single day I'm going to give people the opportunity to work with me because I will not be stopped. I will not be put to the side. I will not be put on the shelf. Instead, I'm going to show up every single day because I trust myself. I trust the process. It's really hard not to bet on a winner like that. Would you agree? It's really hard not to follow somebody and believe in them. So don't worry about people who doubt you. Don't worry about the people who say it can't be done. Stop focusing on them. Focus on yourself. Focus on your vision. Focus on the people you're here to serve. Focus on why you came here in the first place. When you do that, the doubters, the naysayers, and the haters become very irrelevant very quickly. My friends, It is my privilege and honor to come here to you on the Daily Dose of Awesome. Hopefully you got some great stuff. I see some awesome comments. I appreciate you guys showing up here. We do this every single Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. If you got some value from this video, please feel free to share this on your social networks, especially if there's people out there that you're leading that are saying to you, hey, I've got a lot of doubters and naysayers in my life. Share this video with them. Invite them to come join us here on the Daily Dose of Awesome, especially here in the Elite Pro community. We'd love to have more of you guys out here. The bigger the fan base, the bigger the family we have together, the bigger the bonfire of belief we can build together, and the bigger shift we can make, not just here in EMP, but in this entire amazing industry that we have. My friends, I appreciate each and every single one of you. Thanks for joining me here. I'm stoked to be here. Look forward to coming back at you tomorrow with a very special guest. And until then, remember, no matter what course you fly in life, fly high, fly fast, and fly far. We'll talk to you tomorrow.